Top 10 First Animals That Went into Space. Everybody remembers the brave astronauts who pushed back the frontiers of knowledge with their expeditions into space. It is easy to forget, however, that the very first pioneers of space were not humans at all, but members of other species. Here we review the top 10 animals who ventured into orbit in the early years of space exploration. Number 10. Leica, the dog. Leica is the very first living creature to have orbited the Earth. She was a husky cross who was found as a stray on the streets of Moscow. After lengthy training in the Russian space program, she was launched into orbit aboard the Sputnik 2 rocket in November of 1957. Unfortunately, her journey was designed as a one-way trip, and she died after only a few hours in her cramped cabin. Number 9. Gordo, the monkey. In December 1958, the Russians tried again with Gordo, the squirrel monkey. He was launched into space at a height of 600 miles. This time, a landing procedure was planned, and his cabin did re-enter the atmosphere and land in the sea. Unfortunately, however, there were some problems with the splashdown, and he did not survive. Number 8. Miss Abel and Baker. Miss Abel, a rhesus monkey, and Baker, a squirrel monkey, completed a space flight at the height of 300 miles in May 1959. Both animals survived the journey and returned safely to Earth. Their contribution to science was invaluable, as their vital signs were monitored, and scientists learned a great deal about the pressures that living creatures have to endure in space flight situations. Number 7. Belka and Strelka. Another two canine astronauts from the Soviet space program were Belka meaning squirrel and Strelka meaning little arrow. They both orbited the Earth over the course of one day in 1960. Their Sputnik flight also carried several smaller animals, including a rabbit, mice, rats, and flies. Both dogs survived their adventure and were featured in a popular animated film. Number 6. Ham, the chimpanzee. Ham was a chimpanzee trained by the American Air Force. In 1961, he was launched into a suborbital flight from Cape Canaveral in Florida. He was the first humanoid in space, and unlike his predecessors from the animal world, he interacted with the spacecraft. Ham could operate levers on instruction. Number 5. Enos, the chimpanzee. Another chimpanzee astronaut was Enos. He, too, was launched by American scientists. The Mercury program was designed ultimately to transport humans, and Enos successfully completed a full orbit of the Earth, paving the way for later flights. Number 4. Fellaset, the cat. Fellaset was a black and white cat found wandering in the streets of Paris. In 1963, Fellaset was launched into space by French scientists who were investigating the effects of space travel on living organisms. She survived a non-orbital flight at a height of 156 kilometers. The rocket that carried her was one of the Veronique series, designed for research purposes in France. Number 3. Vedorok and Ugoliok. Two more dogs from Russia, called Vedorok and Ugoliok, were launched into space in 1966. Vedorok, meaning light breeze, and Ugoliok, meaning coal, completed a long space flight of 22 days. This was a considerable feat at that time in history. They orbited the Earth multiple times, providing huge amounts of data to help scientists prepare for longer human flights. Number 2. A pair of anonymous tortoises. 1968 was a good year for space travel, and the Russians once again extended their repertoire with the launch of two unnamed tortoises into space aboard the Zond 5 spacecraft. The international press sometimes reported that they were turtles, but in fact they were Horsfield's tortoises, a species native to Central Asia. This intrepid pair were the first living creatures to enter deep space and orbit the Moon. Their flight was successful and both survived their trip with no serious after effects. Number 1. Anita and Arabella, the spiders. A fascinating trip was completed by two female spiders named Anita and Arabella. In 1973, these two garden spiders were launched into orbit as a part of NASA's research program. Scientists studied the effects of weightlessness on their ability to spin webs. After some initial confusion, and evidence of poor web spinning capacity in zero gravity, they soon adapted well and completed their usual webs in space.